So in the previous two videos we have seen why we need a data warehouse in the first place, and then in the second video we got to know about why we need to use SQL. How can we utilize SQL in order to interact with our data warehouse and get the results? So in this video we will start exploring SQL. SQL refers to structure query language. Now I will walk you all through all the basics of SQL, how to create a table, how to insert values into it, how can we update or delete any records from a table, and many more operations of SQL. In order to get started, let's create a database. So database is nothing but a container that stores all our tables, views, or any other database objects. In SQL, we can create any object using a create command. So now we want to create a database, so we are creating a database. And now we need to give the database name. And every SQL query must be ended with a semicolon. And we just need to select it and we can click on run. Yes, there is a section for database. If we click on that, it will show all the available databases and we can see the DemoDB here. Now if you observe, by default the database has been selected as demo_db and schema as public. So when it comes to a table, let me open Excel. We have a student table where we store all the details related to a student. If we see the information about the student, we have the student roll number, student name, branch, address, phone number, and gender. So before we get started with creating a table, by observing this data, we can conclude we require two things while creating a table. The one is columns, which are highlighted in blue here, and the other ones are its data types. Before we go deep into that, let me tell you a few things for everyone's clarity. So these horizontal lines, if you pick, these are named as, or these are called as rows or records. And this particular column represents information about one field. For example, it contains the information about roll numbers. It contains the names of the students. It contains the different branches. And this particular column contains the phone number. So these are called as columns or attributes or fields of a table. And these are called as rows or records of a table. So while defining a table, we require two things. One is the columns and the other one is the data type of that column. Why we require this? Because what if I fill name in place of roll number and phone number in place of a student name? This is not accurate. In order to avoid these kind of situations, we need to define the data type for each and every column while creating the table. And not only the data type, we should define even the length of the data type. Why? Because let's consider these two fields. One is the phone number. What if someone forgets and enters only 9 digits? The phone number usually contains a 10-digit numerical value. Anyone by mistake enters only 9 digits, it should throw an error. Even in the case of gender, if you see, male and female, we are representing with single letters M and F. Someone enters it as a complete gender male, it won't be good to process data in the further stages. So that's why while creating a table, we need to make sure of giving two things. One is the column name and the other one is its data type along with its length if required. So let's create one table. So for creating a table, the syntax is again create table, And now we should give the table name. Let's give the table name as student. We need to define the columns here. The first one is roll number, which is of integer. Roll number is an integer, like it contains values like 1, 2, 3 and so on, so that's why we defined it as integer. Student name, branch and address contains letters, so that's why we defined them as varchar. Phone number must contain only the 10-digit number, so that's why we defined it as a number with length of 10 digits, and the second argument represents the decimal places. It shouldn't contain any decimal places, so that's why we defined it as 0. And the gender must be single digit letter, so that's why we defined it as varchar of 1. So let's create the table. In SQL, if you want to see records in a table, we need to use a command named as select. So select star represents every column from table name. So if you place your cursor here in the table name, there will be 3 horizontal dots. Just click there and place. You will get an option called as place name in editor. If you click on that, your table name will be coming to your worksheet, and now you can execute it. If you see, there are no records, but we can see our columns. Now let's insert some data into this table. For that, we need to use insert command. The syntax for insert is insert into table name. Again, we can do this, and values. In the values section, we need to give the values of one particular record for each and every column. For example, the roll number 1 here. Let's copy this entire row. I'm commenting it. Yeah. So after 1 comes the student name, which is Ram here, and then his branch, next comes the address, phone number and gender. If you observe this particular record, I have given single quotes for few of the values. So any string value must be enclosed in single quotes, and the numerical ones must be given as is. So let me execute it. You can either use Control Enter if you are using Windows, or Command Return if you are using Mac, or you can simply click on this blue button. We can see the number of rows inserted is 1. So let's check the data now. So as mentioned, in order to check the data or view the records in a table, we need to execute select command. Yes, we got our record, the first record. So let me quickly draft. Yeah, here is the insert query for the rest of the 4 records. Since we already inserted the first one, so we are skipping the first one in the below. If you observe, we have repeated this sequence. So each tuple here represents one record, and we have separated the records using comma. We can end the query with a semicolon and we can execute it. Yes, all the 4 records has been inserted successfully. So now let's see the data again. Back to select command, executing it. So now we can see the data, the whole data of this table. So now we are clear about how to create a table and insert data into it. Now let's see how can we see a partial data or the data that we need. For example, I'm interested in getting the data of all ECE students. So how can we do that? We need to filter out the rows, right? I don't want to see all 5 records. I just want to see students from ECE. So for this we need to filter out this data. So for that we have one filter which is called as where. So now I want to look at data. So we know the command select star from the table name. Okay, but I'm interested in only ECE branch students. So we need to use where branch equals ECE. Now if you execute, we can look at only students that are from ECE. Similarly, if you want to filter based on the gender, we can do that. So in place of branch, we can use gender as our filter, and yeah, that's it. What if I want to delete some records from a table? Let's see the delete command as well. Delete command usually comes like delete from the table name, and we need to give the condition of which record we need to delete. For example, where roll number equals to 1. Let's say we want to delete the record of the roll number 1. So let's see our current state of data first. Select star from students. We have all 5 records. Now let's execute the delete command. Now we want to delete this particular row. We can identify this record by using a row number, since row number never repeats for any of the students. So I am using where roll number equal to 1. Let's execute this command. Number of rows deleted is 1. Now let's go back and execute to see the table again. Now we have only 4 rows, and which are 2, 3, 4, 5, and we don't have the roll number 1. Yeah, let's insert the roll number 1 again. We have the query already, so I'm executing it again. Let's see the data. Yeah, now here we have the roll number 1. Okay, so what if we want to update any value in our table? So we can update it using the update command. Let's say roll number wants to update his phone number. His phone number now has been changed. So in order to do that, we can use update command. Update table name, set phone number. Now we have to give the phone number, the actual phone number. So now we need to give the new phone number to which you want to upgrade. Let's execute it. If we execute this command, it will update the phone number, this particular phone number, for each and every record. Let's check that. Yeah, all 5 rows got updated. Let's see the data. Select star from see, phone number got updated for each and every record. Why? Because we missed the where condition. So while updating the values, we should make sure we provided the right filter conditions in order to avoid this kind of scenarios. Let me delete the data of each and every record, since the data now has been corrupted. If we want to remove all the rows from a table, we can simply use truncate command. So truncate table, you can give the table name, statement has been executed successfully, and let's run this. If we see, there is no records in the table, so let's insert our data again. So yeah, now let's check our table. We have all 5 records, and we want to update the phone number of our roll number 1 to this particular phone number, so we must use a filter condition where roll number equal to 1. The number of rows updated is just 1, and if you look at the data in the table, the new phone number got updated for the roll number 1. So earlier, in order to delete data from a table, we discussed we can utilize delete command, and now we have truncate as well. So when to use what? If you want to remove all the records from a table, use truncate. If you want to remove only few records based on a filter condition, then use delete. If you don't use a filter in the delete command, let's say you just gave it like delete from table name without any filter, then even this command will delete all the rows from the table. If you see, number of rows deleted is 5. Let's check the data. Select star from students. We don't have any records. What is the exact difference then between truncate and delete, and which is ideal? Let's take this scenario where you want to delete all the records from a table, then always use truncate. Why? Because truncate will directly remove all the rows from a table as well as any metadata associated with its loads on that particular table, whereas delete takes a lot of time in order to remove these records, because it will process row by row and it won't delete any metadata associated with the table. So what is metadata and all those things we can discuss in the later videos, but for now, this is a blind rule. Like when you want to delete entire rows, all the records from a table, use truncate. If you want to delete only a particular set of records from a table, then use delete. Let's insert the data again. And checking the data again from the student table, we have all 5 rows now. What if we want to add an extra field to our table? For example, till now we have roll number, student name, branch, address, phone number and gender, and now we would like to add an extra field or an extra information about a student, which is his CGPA. In order to do that, we have alter command in SQL. So using alter command, we can add columns in an existing table, or we can even drop the columns which are there in a table. Now let's see how to add a column in our student table, which is CGPA. So the SQL here shows the syntax of the alter table. So since we want to change the structure of the table, that's why we used alter table name, and now we want to add an extra column. So add column CGPA, which is of data type float. So let's execute it. Statement successfully executed. Now let's check the state of our table. Now the column has been added. So in order to provide, we have to use update command to fill the values in CGPA column. Let's see how can we do that. Update table name. Yeah, this will update the value of CGPA column as 9.0 for the roll number 1. Let's execute it. Yeah, one row has been updated. Let's see the data. Yes. Now let's see how to drop a column from a table. For dropping the column, again we need to change the structure of the table, so we use alter table name, and we want to drop the column, so use drop column name CGPA. Let's execute it. Statement executed successfully. If we see the data now, the column has been dropped. Now what if we want to drop the table? Command is same. We can directly use the drop command, drop table and table name. Student successfully dropped. Let's execute the select now. You'll get an error since student table does not exist. Now let me refresh the database objects here. We don't have any student table now. So these are the basic SQL commands that we must know, and in the next video we'll see some more commands and some functions available in SQL.